Hi, Venice. Good evening.
Good evening, Nikki.
And thank you so much for sharing your time with us today.
You're welcome.
Well, today we're hoping you could talk with us more about the lessons and benefits of the seven habits workshop. The seven habits of highly effective people.
Mhm.
But before we get to that, if you could just share with us your current role in leadership development in the company.
Okay. Well, I am with HR, and we handle the organizational development. So that's talent management, really.
And I guess seven habits is one of the steps towards that.
It's one of the things that one of the developmental trainings that we are rolling out in the organization. Yes.
Well, for the seven habits, if you could just give us a little background of, and also what is the purpose of the seven habits workshop?
The purpose really is since being a part of the new VXI, the purpose why we are rolling out the seven habits is because it will help us build a great culture. It's our aspiration is to build a great culture, take amazing care of our people, and create success stories. Our people creating their success stories for us to make all those things happen. And seven habits is one of the best ways to make that aspiration a fulfillment and accomplishment.
And how do you think seven habits is, or why do you think seven habits is the best leadership training out there? What makes it different in terms of helping you achieve that goal?
Well, of course, it has the elements of a balanced approach. It has something around one's public and private victories. It has a holistic approach. It really that as the seven habits will make sure it ensures that people will be effective as they apply all the habits in their everyday lives.
You mentioned that it talks about private victories and public victories. So, how does these two concepts should lead someone to being an effective person or leader for that matter?
Well, of course, even before you can influence other people, you have to be the change that you want to see in the world, right? And if you want to do that, seven habits will give you the right attitude. It shows the right attitude and how you perceive things. It will change everything.
It's very well said. If you could just give us a little bit of background, if you could briefly describe the private victory habits for the benefits of those who haven't attended the workshop yet.
Private victory habits really it covers the first three habits. First habit is being proactive. Be proactive. Second is begin with the end in mind. Third is put first things first.
And of course, as you mentioned, from accomplishing your private victories, you will be able to share yourself towards public victories. If you could just briefly describe what those public victories are when you're ready to take that on.
So when you apply habit one, which is be proactive, one of the public victories that transcend when I applied being proactive is I get to finish my job even before the deadline. And so my team is able to present it to the higher management, which is the executives. And that, with that said, it's a public victory because the executives are pretty happy about the presentation, meaning when they saw the presentation, it didn't look like we rushed it. We finished it even before the deadline, only because one person was willing to be proactive. And, I was congratulated by my associate director for doing that. And, it gives her ample time to check my presentation because I finished it way before the deadline. So it gave everybody enough time to prepare for the big show.
All right. So what I'm understanding is if you are able to exercise these private victory habits, it's a domino effect.
Yes, of course.
Well, since the workshops, What changes have you seen from your students or from your learners?
Are you asking me just habit one or in general?
In general.
In general, they are also being proactive. I don't have to force them to attend the developmental trainings. They send their enrollees, they send their people from their departments right away. I don't have to walk around and beg for them to send participants. They follow up with me, because before I always do the follow-ups. Now they follow up with me even before I ask them.
So there is an immediate change
Definitely.
somehow in
Yes.
discipline.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about being proactive. If I can just circle back to that, so you have been be proactive, one of the private victory habits. And then you have
Habit two,
habit two,
which is begin with the end in mind. Yeah.
So it's it's an interesting wordplay, beginning with the end in mind. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Beginning with the end in mind is having the mental picture. Once you get the mental picture where you want to be, then you start the physical things. What steps do you need to make to get to your mental picture, which is the end in mind, your goal.
So envisioning it, and so that you can work towards it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last habit for private victory, which is putting first things first. Again, interesting wordplay there.
Mm-hmm.
Should be quite obvious. What is something new that we're trying to teach our learners with putting first things first?
We want them to be organized, right? We don't want them to cram. We don't want them to hate their jobs just because they don't have the time. Really, it's managing yourself. It's not time management, but how you manage yourself and how you manage your tasks. So that's putting first things first. So yeah, it's considering what's important and what's urgent.
That's very interesting, because the common concept is time management, but it's actually self-management.
Yes, you can't manage your time, but you can manage yourself, because time is just 24 hours. You can't change that. That's all you have. So you manage yourself.
Well, it's beginning to make a lot more sense now. So once the person, say, masters or at least able to practice this regularly, then the person should be more ready to take on public victory habits. So if you could briefly describe to us these public victory habits.
Well, the first habit, if we're talking about the public victories, that will help you, be successful or have public victories, we have to consider 4 habits. Habit 4, which is think win-win. Habit 5 is seek first to understand, then to be understood. Then habit 6 is synergize, and then habit 7 is sharpen the saw.
So for think win-win, is it really possible that win-win situations is it always possible?
What do you mean? Is it possible?
Win-win situations.
People getting benefiting.
All parties.
All sides.
Benefiting?
Yes, of course. How do you make that happen? You just ask yourself, what's in it for me, and what's in it? What will I get from it? And at the same time, if I get this, what will the other person get from it? So it's just being more considerate of other people. So again, it's the attitude, right?
It all begins with
yes.
attitude.
And you think about, okay, if you want to make a project happen, or you have a project that you want to start, you think about those 2 things. What will they get? What will I get? What is acceptable to me, and what is acceptable to them? So again, just being considerate of all the people involved in that particular project.
Well, it sounds to me it's a lot related to seek to understand.
Yes, so you have to understand what's acceptable to them and what's not
before seeking to be understood.
Yep.
The 6th habit, synergize, is it's a little vague to me. If you could describe that a little bit more in detail, what we mean by that.
Synergizing is really working with other people. it's like understanding how they want things done and letting them understand how you want things done, because we all have our reasons. So if there are people who are reluctant to maybe join the project, let's go back to that project. Let's say we have a project and we start talking, we want to find out what's acceptable to them and what's not. So we have to understand why it's not acceptable to them. And then, it's just thinking about their way, my way, and then you brainstorm, and then the highway.
It's an interesting process, and again, we're going back into the domino effect.
Yes.
Of it. Something interesting I find in the diagram in the course is you have at the first level personal victories, and then at the second level public victories, which made sense already, thanks to you. I just want to understand a little bit more why sharpening the saw in the diagram encircles both habits.
It encircles all the habits, because without self-renewal, then you won't be able to exercise, or you won't be effective in life. And, when we say life, outside and inside the office. So, in other words, practicing habit 7 is the catalyst to personal and interpersonal effectiveness.
Got it. So sharpening the saw here is actually the self.
Yes, it's the self. It's the body, mind, heart, and spirit.
So making sure you take care of yourself before you can take care of.
Yeah, and when you say you take care of yourself, you take care of your bodies. That's why you have to balance your time. You can't do overtime every day, because by the time you get home, then you're exhausted and you don't have time for other things. You don't have time for your kids. You don't have time for yourself. And when you say mind, that's when you spend time with your family, right? And you with friends also, because you mature socially. And when we say mind, that's the time you go to, you don't just work, but you also go to school, right? So you are sharpening your mind. And then your spirit, there's something that you want to do for yourself, recreational. Maybe you want to go to the gym. So that also covers the body, but also it's something that you want to do, like a hobby.
So from what the more that I learned about it, 7 Habits is not just targeting professional life, but also emphasizes on the personal aspect.
Of course, yeah.
Well, having said that, first I want to ask, how has it impacted the company culture so far? What kind of changes, no matter how small, have you noticed?
Well, now, I just ran the 7 Habits reunion, and the reunion really is about asking about their wins, the trappings of success, and also the challenges that they faced when they applied the habits, and the challenges that they are still facing. And when we consolidated the insights, mostly managing oneself is a challenge, but in other aspects of life, they are able to manage their life, or when you say life, inside and outside. So, what was your question again?
The impacts that
the impact. They have better results in terms of performance, better results in terms of relationships, because they were able to apply seek first to understand. Because most of the time, supervisors that attended, and even the managers, they were pretty honest about being doubtful of their employees. They have their preconceived notions already. So because of 7 Habits, they remembered that, okay, so all right, I have to erase all the bad records and give this person a chance, because we all deserve second chances, right? So they try to understand them better, where they're coming from, why a person is behaving the way they are, and because of that, they to apply the seek first to understand, they applied sharpen the saw, which is activities outside work, team buildings. And through team buildings, they were able, so that's habit 7, they were able to apply habit 5, which is seek first to understand. And, you know, through their conversations outside work, through their conversations during the team building, they got to know their employees better. And if you know your employees better, you know what kind of approach per person, because they are individuals, they're all different,
Exactly.
right? So with the situational leadership also, they applied that, right? So they have better relationships. So better results, better relationships, better attendance because they come to work, they're happy because their leaders, their team leads understand them better. So those are some of the things, yes.
It sounds to me that this is you're already beginning to see the how this align with the passion
Yes.
for people.
Right,
Going
right,
back to the
right.
first thing.
Passion for people. That's why we want to take good care of them.
So just before to wrap things up, how would you encourage anyone out there who has not attended the 7 Habits workshop, or anyone who has not even encountered even the book? How would you encourage them to seek this out?
Well, if they want a better life, or they want better perspectives in life, and they want better results, they want to be effective, then 7 Habits is the way to go, because this is not just for, like I said, when Stephen Covey explained this, the 7 Habits is not just for the professionals, the executives. No, it's for everyone, and you know, you can apply it anywhere, and at home, outside. I mean, inside the office. So if you want to be effective and you want to be a better person with better outlook in life, then 7 Habits is the way to go. So I guess, you know, we all have problems, right? And if you want to be effective in solving all your problems, attend 7 Habits. I guess that's as simple as...
It's as simple as that.
Yeah, as simple as that.
Well, thank you so much, Ms. Benes, again for...
You're most welcome.
It's a very insightful conversation. I cannot thank you enough.
You're welcome.